Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David, how you doing tonight?
Oh God, that was just so hard. Such a brutal loss, brutal way to lose. Just there's no sugarcoating that. That was just horrible. That was a horrible game in so many ways, and it was all the more horrible because the Oilers actually played really well for much of the game. They had 21 grade A shots to 9 grade A shots for the Senators in this game, Bruce. They just needed some defensive stops, basic defensive plays, and some goaltending, and they'd win this game handily. And they couldn't hold on to a 3-1 lead. They tie it up in the third, and they still lose. It was just brutal. It was a brutal game on top of a brutal stretch of games. Probably the most brutal game in a brutal stretch of games. How about that?
Yeah, well, it was the one of the whole stretch that you think that they're going to win this game. They got a 2-goal lead against anybody. A 2-goal lead should be a game that's won, and against Ottawa Senators team that they dominated last year. They come into the third period up 3-1, and to fritter away the lead with some piss poor defense in the first 5 minutes of the third period, basically, and then just downhill from there, David.
It was horrible. All right. What's your good thing?
Oh, we're going to do good things first? Okay.
Yeah, let's do our good things.
All right.
Get them out of the way.
Yeah, I'm going to go with secondary scoring. I wrote a column today criticizing Oilers' lack of production from the bottom of the lineup, and that usually works, and it almost worked out for a win, but they got goals tonight from Zach Kassian, from
Connor Yamamoto.
Connor Yamamoto and Brendan Perlini. All Cassian's was a power play goal. The other two guys on lower lines, and then Darnell Nurse connected with the. I think each line effectively got one goal in this game, and it was spread around a lot more than it usually is. And unfortunately, it was their big guns that didn't produce offensively, even though they certainly had more than their share of chances that they generated. But Matt Murray was George Besna anytime McDavid and Draisaitl was on the ice, and the rest of the game he was pretty average. But he sure came up with some phenomenal saves against the big guys, and saves were the difference in this game. One team got some, one team really didn't.
George Vezina, he used to hold the stick like they used to hold the stick like hockey players held the stick to goal. I was just watching a clip of an old-fashioned game from Madison Square Gardens in 1930 today, and Murray's almost like that. He's got a very unorthodox style in a lot of ways. Like, and how did he keep that one shot out from Connor McDavid in the first on the power play where McDavid had the wide open net? That was a tough one. Bruce, my good thing, I actually liked the top four defense. I liked the partnership of Nurse and Ceci quite a bit. Partly because I'd been advocating for that 2 weeks ago. It was my number one thing to turn around the Oilers. The number two thing is to trade for a goalie. I might put that to number one. I thought Nurse and Ceci were strong together. I mean, Ceci took a late penalty, which was kind of a tough play. He's trying to lift the guy's stick. He misses and he hits him in the face. You know, you're responsible for your stick. So not great. But other than that, those two guys were strong all game long, and Nurse was flying out there like he's the Edmonton Express of the 21st century here, the new Eddie Shore, flying up the ice, and he did it a number of times. Broke in, I think it was in the first, right through the middle of the ice, and got a great shot on net. And then finally took a. There was actually a very nice sequence of play where CC won a tough battle in front of the net with Brady Tkachuk. Put it over to Jesse Puljujarvi, stretch pass to Hyman. Hyman whips over a cross-seam pass to Nurse, who just fired it in to tie the game. And I just thought, oh, we're on our way, like back on track here. And it was short-lived. It was too bad. But that was a great, nice, very nice goal by Darnell Nurse. He had 9 shots on net. CC was strong defensively all game long. He and Keith, if they could make one criticism, they were uh, two of the culprits on power play goals against. It would have been nice if Keith had blocked that last one, for
Yeah.
instance. That said, I think Duncan. Other than that play, Duncan Keith might have had his best game as an Edmonton Oiler.
Hmm.
He's really looking like a fine hockey player right now, especially with the puck.
He's playing good.
He had a couple plays. I mean, he walked the line in, so fast and so well, and then pumped lobbed the puck or tapped the puck into Perlini in the shot, who snapped it home. Just a great play by Duncan Keith, and he had another one. I think he set up Yamamoto on a great cross ice dart over to Yamamoto in the slot just before Yamamoto scored, actually, and played very well. Tyson Barrie, he made a brain fart of a play to get a penalty early in the game, but he and Keith were really snapping that puck around well, and did a good job in that regard. So we'll see how they are defensively, because both players, Keith at his age, and just Barrie, always they can have defensive issues, but I think you really do need to have your two best right and left side defensemen paired up on the top pairing, and that's CC and Nurse, and then see how everyone can do from there. And maybe Barrie and Keith can hold it their own. Um, if Nurse and Cece are doing the heavy lifting. Although I noticed the Ottawa's top line was out there a lot against Bouchard and Lagesson. And we're going to get to those two characters in a little bit. They really struggled. But the top four didn't. At even strength, they were towers of power, those two defensive pairings, and tilted the ice in Edmonton's favor when they were out there with their sound defensive play and really strong passing. What's your bad thing? We'll do two bad things each, Bruce. We can't resist, because there's just, even though there was only 9 grade A shots against, there's lots of bad things. What's your first bad thing?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with the net mining. Stuart Skinner. How many times we said this year? The Oilers had the second best netminder in the game, and it was not close in this game. I mean, 4 goals of support, and they limited the other team to 9 grade A scoring chances, and 5 of them went in the net. And 2 of the 9 chances came off of Skinner's own turnover behind the net, where he was able to get back in front and make the first save, and they jammed home the rebound. Well, that was the 5 grade A chances Ottawa had in the third period. 4 went in, and the other one was that save where the rebound went in. Like, how about a save? I thought really both the Zub goal. I mean, that was a good shot, and it was a horrible screen, but it was like 3 or 4 inches inside the post. And if he'd been out on top of this crease, maybe taken down a little more angle, maybe. And then the game winner, I mean, guy beat him from top of the face-off circle. He got a clean shot and a clean look, but it wasn't like it wasn't Brett Hull burying a rocket
Scotta.
from there. He had the puck. He didn't one-time it. He just beat Skinner, and Skinner got beat on a few plays tonight, and not enough saves. Not enough saves. He had a golden opportunity to seize the job here, and unfortunately, he laid an egg in what was a very big game in his career. And this really leaves Ken Holland in a conundrum. I mean, who's the goalie?
Who's the goalie is a good
Who's the
question, Bruce.
goalie?
They they got to trade for one, Bruce.
Well,
I
good
know
luck
some
with
people
that.
say there's no one available, blah blah blah. I don't know. You can't. I mean, Skinner has been trending down, right?
Hmm.
He started out hot. Costinen's been trending down. Smith trending down. Like they've all just been cratering, and this was a really rough game from Skinner in a lot of ways. On the turnover, he had options either side, Bouchard or Lagesson he could have passed to. On the one side, his blind side was Lagesson, but there was no Ottawa Senator there. He was only passing through the Senator to get it to Bouchard. And of course, the Senator knocked the puck down, as forwards will. They got, these are NHL forwards. They got great hands. Don't pass through them. Make the safe pass. Now, maybe Lagesson's not yelling at him. Maybe there was a lack of communication between the rookie, but they've played together in Bakersfield. These guys,
Hmm.
you know, that was a really bad turnover. Bruce, my bad thing are Lagesson and the pairing of Lagesson and Bouchard. They just
Mhm.
they fell apart in the third period. They were out for the first three even strength goals against, and I'm going to focus on that first goal, the 3-2 goal where things start to go sour because the Oilers have the game well in hand. Then they really do, and they should win this game going away. They should easily win this game. And it starts off Yamamoto kind of loses a battle in the offensive zone and they break out fast, but that's really not the play. And if Alan Walsh is wondering why William Lagesson isn't in the lineup all the time, watch this play, Alan. Like seriously,
Mhm.
Lagesson's played okay hockey this year. I'm not trying to say that he's been terrible all year, but there has been plays like this last year, this year, and he just got caught flat-footed in the neutral zone, and a 2-on-1
Yeah.
develops out of it. It can't happen at that point in the game. He's got to make that play if he's going to play in the NHL. He's got to do it, and he didn't. And then, so it's a 2-on-1 coming in, and Bouchard, 2-on-1, let the shooter shoot, don't allow the pass. And Bouchard, he fades towards the shooter, moves towards the shooter, opening up the passing lane, and it's a pass over and a goal. So two rookie mistakes by young
Pretty much.
defensemen, and such a crucial moment. I didn't honestly, Bruce, I didn't think we'd see them in the game again after that. And I was thinking, don't put them in. Like that's what I was thinking. Don't don't do it. They get out there again, and Skinner does the turnaway, and then Bouchard, and on that play there was Skinner made the first save, but Lagesson's right beside the goalie when the rebound comes. He's got to be thinking, okay, take the man, take the man, take the man, and he doesn't take the man, and his man scores.
Or a
That's
stick.
take his stick, do something.
Hmm.
Don't let him score. You know,
Yeah.
the goalie's got the shot. I got the guy. And then, of course, Bouchard screened the goalie on the next goal. And it was a pretty bad screen, is the truth. Skinner, like I agree, would have been nice for Skinner to make that save, but that was a pretty tough play with Bouchard really screening him. And I could imagine the goalie not being very happy with the defenseman. Either block the shot or get out of the way kind of thing. And sometimes he's trying to block the shot. But really it was that second goal, Bruce, where there's two, I don't know if you'd call Lagesson's mistake a mental mistake. Bouchard's was a mental mistake, but
Hmm.
Lagesson's maybe was just a physical error. He's not fast enough. He's not a good enough skater or something to make the play, but can't happen. And I gave him a 2 in that game,
Yeah.
mainly based on that play, but on other plays as well. So, what's your other bad thing?
Well, I got to go with Edmonton's crappy penalty kill. They had three penalties in the game, and they managed to give up the first goal on the first penalty kill, and they managed to give up the game-winning goal on the last penalty kill. And both times they left Josh Norris, who only happens to be Ottawa's leading goal scorer, alone in the high slot twice, all alone. The first one, all four penalty killers went into the corner.
I know.
All four guys. And the pass came through, and Norris had all day, and I still, that was potentially a savable shot too. Like,
Yes.
I mean, he the penalty kill screwed up to give him such a clean look, but it wasn't like he rifled one bar down. It was kind of went, it went in, and then
Yeah,
on the game winner again, the passing lane opened up, and um, Sevier and Ryan were getting beat on the high passes, and the first one came from the corner to the top of the right face-off circle. The second one came from the left wing boards to the top of the right circle. Sevier couldn't cut off the pass. Keith couldn't shut off the shooting lane. Skinner couldn't seal the net. Boom. 4 minutes left in the third period. You need some kind of execution from your penalty kill, and it just didn't happen. And that's 6 games in a row Edmonton's lost the special teams battle. All 5 games on the road trip was won against 0-4. Tonight they got one, but they gave in two on the power play. And those 6 games, Edmonton's winless. 0 wins, 4 losses, 2 ties. And at 5-on-5 in those games, if you throw out the special teams and the empty net goals, that wouldn't have happened without without the lead being what was. The Oilers were actually 2-2-2 in the last 6 games at 5-on-5, which has been their weakness until now. Well, now they got their 5-on-5 where they've fought off in those games, and their special teams have let them down 6 games in a row.
Yeah. Bruce, my other bad thing is just focusing in on Sevier's play on that winning goal. And when the Oilers' penalty kill has been bad, they have allowed cross seam passes.
Yeah.
And
Always.
that's what they did there. That was just not even close. He's got, again, it's like the Lagesson play in the neutral zone. You've just got to stop that pass. You got to stop that cross seam pass. And he didn't. So he and Ryan was the guy who was like in the first goal against, he was, got the guy who conceivably could have been covering the slot. He got in too deep and didn't stop it. And then Sevier on that last one, it was just stop that pass. Like, don't let that pass through. It may just make me wish Josh Archibald was back in the lineup and maybe he'd make that play. I don't know. Sevier's been good up until now, but he's been having a few defensive lapses, which is going to happen. But very frustrating way to lose a hockey game, Bruce.
Yeah. Well, the PK is given in 7 on their last 18. So that's like barely 60% success rate on the penalty kill.
Bruce, what is your numero?
My number is 5, and 5 is the number of shifts that Evan Bouchard had in the third period of tonight's game, and 5 is the number of Ottawa goals that were scored while Evan Bouchard was on the ice in the third period. Every one of his shifts, I believe, ended with an Ottawa goal. I haven't matched up the times at the end of the shift, but they scored on all 5 of his shifts. Last time I checked, the timekeepers had a small error that showed him going off the ice during one of the shifts and then coming back on, which made no sense and which didn't happen. I went back and watched that. By the way, I will credit @Bone207 for pointing this out. I said to my wife when they scored the third one, I said, geez, Lagesson and Bouchard are both -3 in this period. And I'm pretty sure they've had 3 shifts. I was going to go back and check later, but @Bone207 beat me to it and said, have you ever seen 5 goals against on 6 shifts? And I looked at so I went and I looked at the time on ice. Here we go. I'm going to look at it again because it's so unusual. I mean, how unusual is that? 75. Yeah, he's on. They show him as being on the ice for his last 6 shifts are GG open space GGG, and those are all Ottawa G's. And the one with the open space, they show him as being on the ice from 9:55 to 10:05, then going off until 10:10 and coming back out until they scored. And I mean, he didn't go off 10 seconds into his shift for 5 seconds and then come back up. That doesn't happen. And he didn't do it. He was on screen. So literally, he had 5 shifts in the third period, and Ottawa scored on every single one of them. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
All right. My numbers, Bruce, are 10 and 10. Both McDavid and Draisaitl, Bruce, made major contributions to 10 grade A shots each. Draisaitl had the one pass. Draisaitl was fantastic that game. I think I gave, it's kind of weird. Like, people are going to look at my grades because I gave an 8 to Draisaitl and an 8 to Nurse, and they're going to say, like, how can you do that? Well, I grade on process, and the process for those 2 players was outstanding. They just had they had great games, and they didn't make defensive mistakes that allowed goals against. Their other people on their team did. So within a team game, when players are shifting off and on the ice, players can have great games in a miserable, brutal loss. Draisaitl was flying out there and winning battles, and the play where he set up Cassian was a case in point. He wins the battle in the corner, passes it out, Cassian scores. Great shot by Zach Cassian, by the way.
Yep, it was.
And
a great saucer pass by Draisaitl too.
By Leon. Yeah, he was just all game long doing that. And McDavid was flying out there. He he had a frustrating game in some ways because he was seemed a little bit iffy with the puck, and like he had a breakaway and he kind of lost it a bit, and then he had that open net he didn't score. I think it was the third of the fourth goal where he was out there and he was completely out of position, not covering the point.
Right.
All the forwards were kind of running around a bit on that one, and he came out, shifted on, and so he had a few warts in his game, but he was also creating all kinds of scoring chances that game, and they just could not get any. He could, to have 10 major contributions to grade A shots and not have a point is exceedingly rare. And that was Connor McDavid's night. He was very frustrated after the game, not surprisingly. Bruce, the Oilers are getting close to the real 500 mark, are they not? They've got 18 wins and 17 losses now.
That's pretty close.
17 All-State. So, usually, the mark of a decent NHL team is real 500. The mark of a good one is better than that, obviously. They're not a good team right now. Haven't been for some time. I wonder what they're going to do with the goalie situation. I mean, Mike Smith is out, they said, for a week to 2 weeks. Maybe that's going to be, maybe he'll bet their next game's not for 5 more days, right? Is that correct?
Yes, they play again on Thursday against the lowly Florida Panthers, who've only scored 16 goals in the last 2 games. That'll be fun.
Well, I bet you we see Smith. I bet you Smith's in.
Maybe.
I don't know who's going to be behind the bench. Like, I don't think they're going to fire tip it, but if they were, now might be the moment.
Well, they had this one standalone kind of standout game in a 15-day span where they only had one game, and it was at home against Ottawa, and they desperately needed to win to break a 5-game losing streak. And his team couldn't tamp down a 3-1 lead in the third period. So, and you can look at the process, Dave, and I'll agree with you. A lot of the process in this game was good. The Oilers should have won that game, and you could play that game 10 times, and the Oilers would probably win 7 or 8 of the 10 times. But tonight was one of the 2 or 3 times that they would find a way not only not to win it, but not even get a stinking point out of it. And
God,
it's just,
you're right, Bruce.
And you know what they got coming up now? Of course, this isn't a real schedule because there's a big Olympic gap in here. But in their next game, they have Florida, then Calgary. They have 1 game against Nashville, and then they go on the road and they play Washington, Tampa Bay, Florida, and Carolina. Oh boy.
Boy, indeed. Oh, boy, indeed. Yeah, so they could have used the win, Bruce. They really needed a win there. And
they need points. They need points, and they need. I don't know what it's going to take to start to develop a little bit of faith and trust in one another. Because when the chips are down, somebody finds a way to screw up.
Bruce, they need goaltending. They need to trade for a goalie, is what they need to do.
Ron Lowe, come on down.
Someone. They've got to make a move in net. They've got to trade for a goalie is what they've got to do. They've been getting terrible goaltending. How many times? It's 35 games. Okay, I'm going to bet you 10 times. It's been 10 times that the Oilers have better goalie on the night than the opposition. If we went through these games, 10 times is what I'm saying. Maybe there's a few where it was kind of a saw-off.
Yeah.
But 10 times. And the other times, 20 times, 21, 22 times, it's been the other team. The Oilers need a goalie. And we all had our fingers crossed with Stu Skinner, and maybe 1 game's too much to give up on him. Obviously, it is.
Give up
obviously, it is.
He had a big chance tonight, and he crapped the bed. I don't think there's another honest way to put it.
Giving up on him for this season, right? Like, what are you going to do about this season? Giving up would be trading for a goalie right now and saying, well, we're going to send Stu to Bakersfield and he's going to play out the year there.
Or you send him for the other goalie. That would be giving up on him. But
they're not going to do that.
But they're not going to do that.
But I could see them thinking, okay, enough. Maybe they're going to sign Evander Kane and that'll be their move. Like, that's what, if he's available to be, we don't know if he's available to be signed or if he'd sign here yet still. But maybe that'll be the big move to shake things up. But really, they need a goalie, Bruce. They
Jimmy
need
Howard. Jimmy Howard's still out there, David.
Marc-Andre Fleury's out there. There are some goalies.
Hmm.
Just I don't know. I guess like he says he doesn't want to give. And I understand this too. I understand his thinking. Ken Holland's thinking like you don't want to give up the first because it might be a high pick.
Hmm.
Bruce,
Chicago got Marc-Andre Fleury only for cap space. And you know where they got the cap space from? Edmonton Oilers.
yeah.
So if we're going to go down that road, you're going to hear that from me, and that's just the way it is. And it's not me hating on Duncan Keith, but I do hate on that trade. I think that was poor cap management by the veteran GM. I really do. I just think he misread the market. And now, what other assets you got? You traded your cap space, which is the biggest asset that you have in this league, in my view, anymore. So now you're getting into prospects or draft picks, and they have to do dollar in, dollar out. So there's all kinds of headaches getting that done. And
Yeah, well,
if I had any faith at all that the Oilers could possibly win a trade, I'd be a little more excited about it. But you have to go back a while to find the last one of those. So some would say they won the Warren Fogle for Ethan Bear trade because Ethan Bear was healthy scratch tonight. I had that suggested to me today by a couple of posters, and I'd say the jury's way out on that trade. But Ethan Bear had COVID, and he's not bounced back very well from it. Is what I'm seeing. But it's
well, I don't. It's not like Fogel's been great. He's been okay-ish. Ethan Bear
mhm,
was, Ethan Bear was up and down, and
mhm.
I liked he played well at times for the Edmonton Oilers. Um, anyway, I haven't looked at his play at all in Carolina. I can't say. Like I saw that he's getting about third pairing minutes this season in Carolina. He's a good player. Ethan Bear. I'd have him on my
Yeah.
team as a third pairing guy. Probably on a good team, he's not top
Well,
pairing. I think that's what
Carolina's
I'd say.
not top pairing. No, no, I agree.
No, not top four on a good team, but he's he's a decent hockey player. Anyway, so was Warren Fogle. I just think it was a trade. The Oilers, it was a trade for need. Maybe
Warren
these,
Fogel's now -10 for the season, by the way. But
I still like Warren Fogle. I think he's a
there's things to like about his game, and and some of the, I mean that stat's always subject
yeah, it's a crappy
to
stat.
to flukiness. But the fact is, the Oilers are getting outscored when he's on the ice, and I do put stock in that.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, we'll have all kinds of scheming and things to do in the next 3 or 4 days. Intrigue over Evander Kane, and of course, we'll have Kurt
mhm,
Levin's fabulous 9 Things column
mhm.
coming up. I've already posted the player grades, so just got to post this podcast,
Right.
and we're good to go. Any final thoughts, Bruce? Do you have any? I've given my grand solutions. I wrote a post about it, of course, 2 weeks ago, so I was thinking on it then, and you know, I've been back and forth on the trading for the goalie, and
Mhm.
I understand Holland's position about not wanting to give up that first pick, but
Well,
pedal
you
to the
can't
metal,
trade
my
the second
friends.
or the third pick because of the conditional pick he traded to Chicago, which is another pet peeve of mine.
All right,
He's,
let's
he's
flip
painted
forward.
himself into a little bit of a corner. Well, I got to
Yeah,
say, I'm not very thrilled with the management at this point in
fair
time.
enough.
I didn't like the press conference, and I'm not that impressed with the players that have been added to the team. I wrote in my post today, and I pointed out which forwards on the team had been brought in by Holland versus which ones he inherited. And the guys that he brought in have been outscored and outscored by a significant margin. And where are the bargain contracts on this team? Where are they? Who's outperforming his contract on this team? It's a short list. You got,
Outperforming his contract.
yeah, who's playing better than what they're paying him for?
Nurse
Okay.
is. CC might be, arguably.
Okay.
If he hangs in there in the top pairing. Um, Dreisaitl is. Um, Hyman is.
I don't think Hyman is.
I think he's
getting
at
five and
least.
a half million dollars, David.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he's earning.
He hasn't scored a goal in 11 games. He's got 4 assists in 11 games, and he is yeah, and a big deep minus in that time. Like he's played good, but he's been part of this problem during this December slide. He's a $5.5 million player.
I like
So
him. I
yeah, I
like his
mean,
game.
at best he's covering.
Pull the
He's
RV.
not outperforming the bet, right?
Sure.
He
You get
outperformed it when he was a $2.25 million player in Toronto. Well, now he's a $5.5 million player. The Oilers are paying him in full for what he brings.
pull the RV's outperforming his
Yep,
contract.
yep. Puljujärvi
Uh,
and McLeod as young
McLeod,
guys who are, still on cheap contracts that I
Bouchard,
think.
arguably, if he's in a third pairing role. I mean, is Russell still hurt?
Yes, he's skating again, but they said he was close, but
Yeah, they
if
could have
he's
used.
close, I think he'll be in for Bill Legason next game.
I have no doubt about that, Bruce. Zero. Oh, yeah. Anyway,
Russell played tonight. The Oilers might have won that game. And
yeah,
this will send people around the bed. And if Mikko Koskinen had played tonight, they might have won
they
that
might have
game.
won that game. Oh, boy.
Oh, we can't win.
No, that was a tough loss. That was a brutal
Yeah.
loss.
2 6-game losing streaks in 6 weeks. 2 6-game losing streaks. So pressure's on
Yeah,
the coach, the veteran coach, and the veteran manager to come
that's
up
why
with
they're
some
earning.
solutions that actually work.
That's why they're earning the big bucks. We'll see.
Well, they'd be earning the big bucks if they were getting results. Right now, they're not getting any results. So I'm a little bit peeved, right from the top down. I just don't think they've done enough with the two main assets that they've got. Like they just haven't built enough of a team around those guys.
Yeah, it's not going well. All right, let's leave it there. Let's leave it.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's leave it there. I haven't done it.
Let's change the channel on this one. I'm going to go watch Austin City Limits now, and I'll be a happier man in an hour.
All right, good stuff. I've watched Cobra Kai the last little while. That's cheered me up. So,
All right.
all right. Thanks, Bruce, for talking tonight.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.